The first warning isn't the silence, it's the sound of West Texas bending. Rows of cotton snap in the wind like broken bones. Fields once called America's white gold, now worth less than the cost to grow them. Farmers walk the dirt roads not to check their harvest, but to accept its funeral. Warehouses are overflowing. Buyers have vanished. And the chart is merciless. Cotton prices have collapsed more than 30% since spring, and the punchline no one wants to say out loud? China didn't just stop buying, it found someone else. It happened fast. Within one season, Brazilian cotton exports surged to record levels, up nearly 240% from the previous year. And for the first time, Brazil overtook the United States as the world's top supplier. Chinese mills, once dependent on American fiber, now sign long-term contracts with Brazil's Mato Grosso growers at half the price per bale. American farmers can't compete. The U.S. share of China's cotton imports has fallen from 42% 7 years ago to barely 17% today. Prices followed the same curve downward. In Lubbock, the damage is personal. Farmers there depend on imported fertilizer, much of it potash from Canada, now hit by double-digit tariffs. A 12% increase in input costs can mean bankruptcy before the harvest even begins. A cotton picker, once the symbol of scale and efficiency, has turned into a financial anchor. A new John Deere CP770 sells for nearly $1 million. A comparable Chinese harvester costs less than half that. Even a used American machine runs at a premium that makes no sense when your margins have vanished. Brazilian producers, meanwhile, are working with brand new fleets financed through low-interest credit from state banks. Their machinery costs half as much, and their yields keep climbing. In 2025, Brazil controls more than 30% of global cotton exports, a first in history. While the U.S. has slipped behind, Brazil's per-acre output has risen 25% in 5 years, thanks to cheaper labor, longer growing seasons, and subsidized fuel. American output has stagnated under the weight of cost inflation. The market itself is collapsing. Cotton mills across the South, from Georgia to North Carolina, have shut down or shifted to synthetics. 2 decades ago, America processed its own crop. Now domestic textile use has fallen by 75%. This year, cotton consumption inside the United States will reach its lowest point in more than a century. That vacuum means every American bale must find a foreign buyer. But foreign buyers have moved on. China's domestic textile industry has doubled its polyester capacity in just 5 years. Synthetic fiber production there is now more than 4 times larger than the entire global cotton market. For Beijing, cotton is no longer strategic. It's optional. Polyester can be spun cheaper, faster, and tariff-free. In the latest trade figures, Chinese companies bought nearly $1 billion worth of Brazilian cotton, but cut U.S. imports by more than 70%. The supply chain has been rewritten, and America isn't in it. Back on the farm, the numbers turn brutal. Input prices are climbing 12% across the board. Energy costs up 8%. Interest on operating loans nearly doubled since 2022. Some growers in Texas report losses of $20 per bale after years of breaking even. The economics no longer pencil out. If the government doesn't intervene, they say, they're finished. That word, intervention, is now circulating in Washington. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent has confirmed that tariff revenue could be redirected toward emergency relief for distressed farmers. The proposal, $10 to $14 billion in bailout funding, modeled after the soybean rescue during the first trade war with China. Inside the USDA, staff have warned that the Commodity Credit Corporation, the fund used for such bailouts, holds only $4 billion. The math doesn't add up, and the politics are worse. Because Brazil has already challenged U.S. cotton subsidies once before, and won. In 2005, the World Trade Organization ruled that American payments distorted global prices by as much as 12%. That verdict forced the U.S. to pay Brazil nearly $300 million in compensation. If Washington repeats that pattern now, Brazil could reopen the case. It's not just a financial risk, it's a diplomatic one. Farmers aren't waiting for the lawyers. In the Rio Grande Valley, fields hit by drought last summer were hammered by floods this spring. 1,000 acres lost in a single week. Crop insurance won't cover the difference, and lenders are pulling back. Some regional banks in the Cotton Belt report that up to 15% of farm loans are already delinquent. Others are restructuring debt, stretching it over longer terms just to keep borrowers afloat. The chain reaction is spreading, from machinery dealers to fertilizer suppliers to rural grocery stores. Even the global shipping system is turning against them. Freight rates from Houston to Asia have risen by 25% this year after rerouting through costlier channels. Every cent per pound in freight adds millions to export losses. Brazil, with ports closer to China's main lanes and a new export terminal financed directly by Beijing, can deliver fiber faster and cheaper. Logistics, not just tariffs, are rewriting trade routes. At home, the market is oversupplied. The United States is producing nearly 18 million bales this year, while consuming less than 2. That leaves 5 million bales sitting in warehouses, aging and unsold. Cotton stored for more than a year begins to lose grade and value. Some of that inventory may never leave storage. The push for a farm bill has now become a scramble. Congress extended a one-year patch worth $100 billion in disaster relief, but skipped long-term reforms. Lawmakers can't agree on whether bailouts prop up inefficiency or prevent collapse. For Southern senators, it's a political lifeline. For fiscal hawks, it's a subsidy for failure. Both may be right. In the meantime, Brazil's state of Mato Grosso is exporting record volumes, over 2.8 million metric tons of cotton this season. Their average export price per ton has fallen nearly 18%, but thanks to low costs, profits keep rising. That means the cheaper cotton flooding global markets still makes money for Brazilian producers, while it bankrupts their American competitors. Some economists suggest U.S. farmers should pivot to alternative crops, sorghum, wheat, or even renewables. But cotton acreage is not easily converted. The soil, the machinery, the irrigation, all specialized. Switching crops could cost millions per farm. Others advocate for investment in domestic textile manufacturing to absorb local fiber, but the industry's infrastructure is gone. The mills that once lined southern towns are warehouses now, or silent shells. In Washington, the politics of rescue are merging with the politics of trade. The administration argues that tariffs on China fund American resilience. Critics counter they've become a hidden tax on farmers. Each escalation in tariff policy pushes up fertilizer and machinery costs, the very expenses farmers can't control. It's a self-defeating cycle. The policy designed to strengthen U.S. industry is bankrupting its backbone. Meanwhile, China's strategic behavior appears deliberate. By redirecting its cotton purchases to Brazil, it weakens a key American export sector while solidifying influence over South American supply. Beijing's state companies are even financing Brazilian gins and storage facilities, infrastructure that ties future production to Chinese demand. It's leverage dressed as partnership. That shift raises a deeper question about timing. If the United States issues large-scale bailouts now, it may be stabilizing a market already structurally lost. The subsidy money could simply delay the inevitable, a global reordering where the Western Hemisphere's cotton capital moves south. Yet withholding aid would devastate rural economies built entirely on this crop. A few quiet voices inside the administration have suggested a third-path government purchase of excess cotton for use in defense textiles, medical supplies, or disaster stockpiles. It's an old playbook. Turn surplus into strategic reserve, but on this scale it might only buy time. The costs are astronomical and the use is limited. In the fields, time is running faster than policy. Over in Mississippi's Delta region, gin operators report running at only 30% capacity, which is far below the 70% needed for profit. Every idle hour just compounds debt. Farmers are laying off crews, skipping maintenance, and even cannibalizing equipment for parts. The collapse isn't theoretical anymore, it's mechanical. Yet Brazil isn't immune to risk either. You see, its record output depends heavily on stable rainfall and cheap credit. A currency shock or prolonged drought could erase those margins overnight, and Chinese buyers, ever pragmatic, could shift again if prices swing. American officials are betting on that volatility, that Brazil's rise might stumble before the United States collapses completely. But, let's be honest, bets aren't strategies. By late summer, cotton prices hover around 69 cents a pound, the lowest since the pandemic, while global stocks reach a 5-year high. That imbalance guarantees another season of pain. Farmers who planted under optimistic forecasts now face the grim reality of selling below break-even. Many will choose to store bales rather than sell at a loss, but storage isn't infinite. And as the bailout plan moves through committees, resistance builds. Fiscal conservatives demand spending caps. Farm lobbies demand speed. Neither can afford delay. The longer Washington argues, the more farms close. Some see an opening for a reset, a chance to reimagine American agriculture around efficiency, diversification, and climate adaptation. Others see surrender. For families who've worked these fields for generations, transition sounds like exile. They don't want reinvention, they want survival. In one Texas county, a farmer points toward the horizon where thunderheads gather. His family has farmed cotton since the Dust Bowl. He says he's not waiting for another bailout. He's planting soy next year, maybe peanuts. Cotton used to mean something, he says, but it's not ours anymore. The storm rolls closer, washing through rows of half-picked plants. From above, it looks like a river swallowing the fields, a white sea turning brown. Somewhere between Beijing's trade office and a flooded barn in Texas, an industry that once clothed the world is unraveling thread by thread. And the question that lingers isn't whether Washington will write the checks, it's whether there'll be any cotton left to save when they do. We're glad you're enjoying this video. Please like and subscribe. Check out another video that is now on your screen.